Good morning, people. Welcome to our first active US. Here's the breaking news. Biden off the cuff remark on Putin sends shockwaves on dramatic final day of trip. At nearly the same moment, President Joe Biden declared him a butcher. Vladimir Putin's missiles began falling in Lviv, Ukraine, sending black smoke and flames billowing into the air and injuring at least 5 people. The strikes on a fuel depot fires what had been relative calm and the western Europe city that had seen relatively little of the war that has engulfed the nation. The target hardly seemed coincidental. Biden was 250 miles away, visiting Ukrainian refugees in bitter cold at Poland's national stadium. He heard pleas from young mothers to pray for the men, husbands, fathers, brothers they had left behind. We Ukrainian mothers are ready to strangle with our bare hands, said a woman whose son remained to fight, gathering up a small girl wearing a pink coat and pigtails. Biden told her he wanted to take her home. When he returned to his hotel, aides briefed Biden on the strikes of Lviv a few hours later. Propelled by heartache and anger, Biden walked into the courtyard of an old Polish castle to declare the Russian president cannot remain in power. The very final words Biden would utter on his last minute swing through Europe ended up being the most consequential, reverberating widely as Air Force One departed for Washington. They surprised his aides, many of whom spent hours honing the text of a speech viewed by the White House as a significant moment for Biden's presidency. The line Biden uttered was not in what they wrote. Gathered backstage at the castle, White House officials hastily issued a clarification, one of several on this trip alone, to say Biden was not calling for regime change, but not before. The Kremlin issued its own affronted response, saying Russia's ruler is not to be decided by Mr. Biden. The series of events that unfolded here Saturday afternoon placed into soft relief the highly unsettled atmosphere that pervades Europe as Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters its second month. A display of aggression from Putin in the borderlands of Ukraine was followed by an offhand yet forcefully delivered suggestion from within that Russians find another leader. He went to the national stadium in Warsaw and literally met with hundreds of Ukrainians. He heard their heroic stories as they were fleeing Ukraine in the wake of Russia's brutal war in Ukraine. In the moment, I think that was a principled human reaction to the stories that he had heard that day. Biden's ambassador to NATO, Julian Smith, said Sunday on Reporter State of the Union. Biden's view of Putin had been growing increasingly dark over the past month, according to officials, and his language has softened in describing a pure thug, murderers, dictator, war criminal, and after visiting refugees at the stadium, a butcher. His aides have said Biden has been hoping to avoid the Cold War, Washington versus Moscow dynamic. He believes Putin deserts. Instead, he left Europe more directly at odds with the Russian leader than ever. Whether that was his intention seemed unclear. The clarification the White House issued was at least the third time on Biden's trip a White House official left obliged to clean up remarks the president made that appeared on their own, starting as he was hailing the heroism of the Ukrainians. Biden told US troops, "You are going to see when you are there," even though his vote American forces won't be entering the conflict directly. Afterward, a spokesman said nothing had changed. The president has been clear, we are not sending US troops to Ukraine. And after Biden said he would respond in kind to use of chemical weapons by Russia in Ukraine. National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan assured reporters the United States has no intention to using chemical weapons period under any circumstances. Biden has a well-established pattern of speaking out of hand, though perhaps never with stakes so high. White House officials said before Biden's speech, the president had been working intently behind the scenes to reinforce cooperation among his counterparts. He sleeps way less on these kinds of trips than maybe other trips because he has just going. Like wants to talk to the next leader, take the next briefing, Sullivan said Friday midway through Biden's flight from Brussels to Rzeszów, southern Poland, where he was meeting with American soldiers. Beyond the report for Shakti USA.